The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon and welcome to your 3:30 news update. I'm your host, Madison Buckingham, and I'm here to bring you the top stories. Here's what's happening around the Lower Mainland, in the rest of Canada, and beyond. The victim of Saturday's shooting in Coquitlam has succumbed to his injuries and died, according to iHit. The team is now taking over the case and is working closely with Coquitlam Mounties, the BC Coroner Service, and the Integrated Forensic Identification Section. Police have told the public that the deceased is a 21-year-old man from Coquitlam, but his name has not been released. iHit says that they are currently working on discovering if the Saturday shooting had any relation to the other recent shootings. Local businesses across the province are benefiting from the most recent BC Partnership Program funding. Our reporter Jocelyn Chappelle has more on how one company is using the money.
With the funding this year, Vitality Products have already been able to increase employment. President Cheryl Grant describes the recent hires they have been able to make with an increased marketing budget.
In the Lower Mainland, 3 new people. All of them are actually recent graduates or currently in university, so a really great opportunity for them to get involved in the industry as well.
For several years now, Vitality Products have been a part of the program as a way to help let customers know the company is locally owned and products are made in BC. From store signage to packaging, Grant says the funding continues to help in various areas. Jocelyn Chappelle, BCIT, The Crow.
Reporter Jocelyn Chappelle joins us now live. Hi, Jocelyn.
Hi, Matt.
So tell me, how much funding do businesses get?
This year, the funding ranged from $5,000 all the way up to $75,000 for businesses to cover costs like product demos, new staff, and product labeling.
Absolutely. And how many people have registered for this program?
Since the reemergence of the 400 associations have registered with it and 1,000 businesses.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, thank you so much for the update, Jocelyn. Work has recently been completed on a fishway created in Guichon Creek. The creek that runs through BCIT's Burnaby Campus will allow salmon to reach an upper section of the waterway. The Crow's reporter Brooke Jensen spoke with Director of Facilities and Improvements at BCIT about the challenges they faced with the project.
After a decade of discussion, a portion of restoring and daylighting the Guichon Creek that partially runs through the BCIT Burnaby campus has been complete. The project, however, is far from over. Plans to continue daylighting the creek are already in works. Joe Kosh, the Director of Facility Improvements at BCIT, says the biggest struggle with this type of project is weather.
For about a 5-hour period, we saw some of the most rain that we've ever seen on campus, and it did overwhelm the systems we have in place. But we did build in a fail-safe where the site itself was built to be ready for that. So although the next day there was some cleanup around the site itself was able to handle that flooding. And actually, we believe it kind of potentially saves some additional risk to some of the buildings around.
The creek runs underground directly through 2 of the campus buildings and directly next to others. Additional construction timelines are still in process. Brooke Jensen, BCIT's The Crow.
As snow is finally falling in the Lower Mainland, many ski hills and resorts are finally able to get back into the winter season groove. Reporter Nicholas Poitras talks to one ski resort who found unique ways of bringing people up the mountain, even without their skis and snowboards.
Up in the mountains, ski hills and resorts are getting their first proper snowfall of the season, with North Shore mountains all getting between 5 to 10 centimeters of snow today. This comes after a month of very little snowfall, causing resorts such as Grouse, Seymour, and Cypress Mountains to close earlier than normal during the month of December. Sasquatch Mountain, a low-key resort 2 hours east of Grouse Mountain, was also hit by the warm weather. Todd Muir, general manager of Sasquatch Mountain Resort, speaks on how the resort had to think outside of the box to stay in business. Muir says that the resort opened snowshoe and hiking tours, chairlift rides, and even reopened their summer aerial park, all to allow people to still come up to the resort. Muir added that this experience will have them much better prepared for any future snowfall droughts. Nicholas Poitras, BCIT, The Crow.
The Manitoba government is promising to commit $12 million to improve a highway intersection. An accident happened at the location last June involving a bus crash that killed 17 people. The government has released an outside review of the intersection of Highway 1 and 5, where a semi-trailer collided with a minibus that was taking a group of seniors to a casino. Premier Wab Kinew expressed his sympathies for the victims of the accident and expressed that efforts are being made to prevent further issues.
To the family members and to the survivors, I want to acknowledge that we cannot make things right or make you whole, but we are going to work our hardest to ensure that something like this does not happen again.
The report describes 3 possible adjustments: widening the median, turning the intersection into a roundabout, or restricting left turns in some directions. Kinew says he is looking into the safest option. Canadian Senator Stan Kutcher is saying that the federal government needs to make a decision about whether it will allow all Canadians the choice of end-of-life care. The senator was previously pushing for people with mental illness to have the right to medically assisted death. The expansion was set to begin in March 2023, but it was delayed a year due to concerns of possible consequences. Reporter Emily Joveski has the details of the case.
Senator Stan Kutcher, a psychiatrist from Nova Scotia, argued in favor of expanding the eligibility criteria to include those with a mental disorder as their sole underlying condition. A joint committee of parliamentarians was asked last fall to study the question of whether the healthcare system was ready, and the Liberals now face the choice of whether to go ahead with the broadening rules. Kutcher sat on the committee and says he believes the courts have ruled Canadians should have access to medical assistance in dying on a case-by-case basis, and he expects Canada's Attorney General would adhere to the charter. Emily Joveski, The Canadian Press.
In entertainment news, comedian Joe Coy is speaking out about the negative reviews he received after hosting the Golden Globes last night. Reporter Jason Nathanson has the details of Coy's response to the jokes that didn't land.
Yeah, that's a tough room.
Comedian Joe Coy tells GMA3 he's seen the bad reviews of his Golden Globes hosting stint Sunday night.
You know, I'd be lying if it doesn't hurt.
He says he just didn't have enough time to prepare, only 10 days, and tried to explain one joke that fell flat about the NFL always showing Taylor Swift when she attends games to support her boyfriend Travis Kelce.
It was a weird joke, I guess, but it was more on the NFL, you know what I mean? I was trying to make fun of the NFL using cutaways.
The Globe's camera cut to Swift after the joke. She did not appear amused. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
Now for a quick look at the weather. It is currently 3 degrees Celsius with light rain. The Greater Vancouver area can expect periods of rain and wet snow. This has been your news to 3:08 p.m. I'm your host, Madison Buckingham. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back in a minute to bring you an update on sports. Madison Buckingham, BCIT The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trentonero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Welcome back to The Crow. This is your 3:09 p.m. sports update. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world of sports. Kicking things off with the NHL, tonight the Vancouver Canucks are in New York to face off against the Rangers. Vancouver is currently first in the Pacific Division and second in the Western Conference with 39 points. Rick Tocchet is weeks away from his one-year anniversary coaching the Canucks. In a press scrum, he talked a bit about what was so important to him when he joined the team.
I was more concerned about the process of trying to get the way we want to play.
more, harder team to play against, more north, all that sort of stuff. And so I was more concerned with the process. Honestly, obviously I'm going to be judged on results at the end of the day, but to me, I was more worried about the process, whenever you use the word culture.
Over in the East, William Nylander has spoken to the media about his 8-year, $92 million deal with the Maple Leafs. Nylander was set to be an unrestricted free agent July 1st, but said that he's happy to be staying with Toronto.
I mean, this has been home for me. This is the longest I've ever spent in one place in my entire life. So, I mean, it was funny the other day. I was talking to a friend. I don't know, and I said, and then we go home and referring to Toronto. So, without even thinking about it, I mean, this is home.
He also mentioned how grateful he is for the support he receives in Toronto.
I didn't do this by myself. I mean, thanks to teammates and the coaching staff and management, everybody that has believed in me, and especially City of Toronto too, all the fans, the Leafs fans and everything, with all the support.
Nylander's deal is the Leafs' largest contract in team history by total value and includes a no-movement clause. In Whitecaps news, Coach Vanni Sartini spoke to the media today about his hopes for the team moving forward. He says that he's looking at Vancouver's elimination as an opportunity to improve.
First of all, personal growth and try to be better next year. And second is to even try to do things at training in a way even more surgical, in a way more specific, in a way more detailed that maybe you are not needed that much the day of the game. Okay.
Sartini recently signed a contract extending his coaching into 2025. The Whitecaps are headed off to Spain for preseason training camp under Sartini's leadership. Golf pro Tiger Woods is ending his partnership with Nike. Reporter Gethin Kulba explains the details of this end of an era.
Tiger Woods is no longer a Nike athlete after 27 years, ending a partnership between the swoosh and golf's biggest star and raising question about the future of both in the sport. Woods, in a social media post, thanked Nike co-founder Phil Knight for his, quote, passion and vision that brought Nike and the Nike Golf partnership with Woods together. Mark Steinberg, his agent at Excel Sports, confirmed the end of the deal that began in 1996 when Woods turned pro and within 8 months had already won 4 times and shattered records in a watershed Masters victory. I'm Gethin Kulba.
Final look at sports today. We're talking about the NCAA football finals that are tonight. The Washington Huskies are taking on the Michigan Wolverines in Ann Arbor. The Wolverines haven't won a championship since 1997, and the Huskies haven't won a title since 1991. Kickoff is at 4:30 p.m. This has been your sports news to 3:13 p.m. We'll be back tomorrow with more news and sports updates. I'm Madison Buckingham, and you're listening to BCIT The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh, my. No, I'm kidding. Get up! Get up! Get up, baby! Get out! Get out! Get out!
So this is kind of just the area we chucked all his baseball gear in because it was taking over this whole room here when he was playing. But this was his Little League hoodie from when he played for North Van Central. Different sort of awards, PBL Player of the Year. That's what he wore at the draft combine to get him all access into the back rooms and things like that, and to just get interviewed. And you look at it and you feel pretty proud that you're part of it.
Adam was very high energy as a kid. He was always running around, getting into stuff, but he was, we could tell, really good at anything he ever did.
He would wait for me after school for me to come home from work, and so he'd know approximately what time I'd be coming home, and he'd wait for me basically outside the front door and play around on the lawn with a soccer ball or a basketball or stick handle his hockey puck.
Just growing up and playing catch with my dad in the front yard, or him throwing me batting practice in the cage. There's so many times, or throwing tennis balls at the park or something like that. So many times where we've done that at the time I kind of took for granted that, are still fun to do, and I always try and play catch with them and stuff when I get the chance.
It's hard as a parent because you think, oh, my kid's so good at this, but then you also think, well, it's just because we're his parents, we think he's so wonderful.
Okay, let's go, Adam. Let's go. Get out of here. Guys, get out. Come on, get out there.
He played with the North Shore Twins. He would have been 13 when he started that. And so that's called the PBL. That's the Premier Baseball League, and it's where all the best players go and where the best coaches are.
I know, like, his parents were always there to support him, and I know he played a whole bunch of different sports. He wasn't just a baseball player. I think he played some pretty high-level hockey, certainly early on when he was younger. Being able to have a parent that's in your corner, right? Like, as an athlete, you're always going to go through those ups and downs, and it's important to have somebody there to have those conversations with and kind of talk you through the tough times and be able to, point you in the right direction. Maybe you've had a bad game, or you're, I don't know, having those thoughts about maybe not playing anymore.
I remember he had a bad day at the plate. His team was down, just maybe one run or something like that. Late in the game, he had runners on base, might have been loaded bases, and he popped up to the catcher, didn't even get it out of the outfield. He was so pissed off. And, on the car ride home, you could tell he was just really madder than I've ever seen him. And then he came home, and I heard him throw his bag down on the ground in this room here. And then I remember him mumbling something, and I was upstairs, and then I heard this big noise, bang. And I thought, okay, what did he do? And so I came downstairs, and he had taken his baseball bat and he had broken it over his leg. He, fired it across the backyard into the woods kind of thing. So for me, it was like, yeah, maybe I should talk to him. Maybe I should just let him steam down for a little while. And I went and I got the barrel of the bat out of the trees, and I kept it. And I actually shoved it into the dirt behind a bush back here. And I didn't tell him, but I said, okay, I'm going to stick this in there, and I won't tell him that story that I kept the barrel of the bat.
We would have to leave work early. It was a constant juggle. There was, we have another son too, so had to make sure he was fine. And so it was always one of us leaving work early or arranging a carpool or something. There was a lot of driving and a lot of, drive-through dinners, and it was really busy. I think it's just a similar story for most families that have their kids in sports.
And just the multi-sports too, so that was in hockey, that was in baseball, that was in soccer, so it never really ended. There wasn't a season where he could take a break or we could take a break.
Bob and Amy, they're both super, super nice. All the time when we're over at their house, they're just so genuine and caring and accepting of having all of us over there all the time. I think they've definitely done a lot to help him get to where he is, just taking him everywhere. Like, growing up, he was playing a lot of sports, like they're going to school, hockey, baseball, driving around all over the Lower Mainland, getting into sports. I mean, I know I couldn't have played any of the stuff I did without my parents.
His high school team, the North Shore Twins, was over in Deep Cove by my sister's place, and I have really fond memories now of, just going to my sister's, and we would ride our bikes over, and sometimes my parents would come, we'd have a picnic, and it was really, really special to be able to watch those games. My most excited memory of watching him play was it wasn't a playoff, but he was on the North Shore Twins, and I think it was a quarterfinal, and they were playing against the North Delta Blue Jays.
Like, we were down to the last couple innings of our season, and we were down a couple runs, and you knew if we could get some guys on and you could get him up to the plate, like, he was going to succeed in that moment, because that's who he was.
He went up to bat, and they were down, and
right, and he loved those pressure situations. He loved those situations where the game was on the line.
Yeah, he started complaining of pain in his elbow sort of towards the end of the summer in Cape Cod.
So that would be August of 2021.
He'd made the decision to go to Oregon, and we thought, you just got to rest your elbow.
In the third start that he got, after maybe 3 innings or something like that, he was on the mound. We were watching from home, and he just kind of grimaced and winced, and we thought, oh no, like what happened there? And then the pitching coach came out, and then he was holding his elbow, and we thought, okay, that's not good. And they took him out of the game, and then that's when he had to shut it down. So that was March of 2022.
He saw this great surgeon down in San Francisco, and he was able to see him right away. That's one of the many perks of going to a Division I school in the US, is that you have great access to medical attention. I flew down and met him in San Francisco, and he had the surgery, and it was successful, and I flew back to Eugene with him, and he recovered there, and everything went according to plan, and he was disappointed to miss his whole season, but he was also relieved in that he knew that the feeling in his elbow wasn't normal, wasn't good, and he was really happy to get it fixed, knowing that he will come back even possibly better than he was before. We were really thrilled that he was able to get the opportunity to go to Oregon, but again, it was, a bit of a pull at the heartstrings that your son's actually leaving and going hundreds of miles away, and you can't just, he can't just come home for a Sunday dinner anymore. He's matured a lot, I think, through this whole process that he's been through, and so I felt like he was, ready to move away and be on his own, or with his roommates or whatever. When he was in Oregon, we made it down to only one of his games, and then he only played in 3 games when he was with Oregon, and then had to come out due to his injury. But that was, a 8-hour drive to get there, and you got to book a hotel. It was quite something to get there. We're super keen to get down to Atlanta or wherever he's going to end up and watch him play again.
Knowing that how much they love watching me play, and that they get to do that, and it's becoming a little bit more rare that they're able to do that since I'm playing so far away. So it's definitely special to look up and see them in the stands, hopefully with a smile on their face, enjoying watching me play.
I took a picture of the TV set when he was pitching on TV, because they televised the World U18 championships from South Korea. When I see him there, which is very small in the picture, I just know it's him because of his style of pitching, so I can tell that's a real picture and it's not just somebody drew it. It makes me feel proud of what he's done, because I really didn't do anything. I maybe taught him how to throw, how to hit, at the beginning, gave him some tools that he could sort of work with, but and maybe some advice later on about the education piece. And my contribution is minor to the whole process, and I just want to support him. And he's done everything that he's had to do to get to where he is by hard work and by educating himself, and to find that way to be, to have that competitive edge.
I think for Adam, he's had a bit of a rough year over this last year with, being injured and going through the surgery and the things that he has, and now moving on to professional baseball. I think he's going to, need a lot of family support, not only as he works his way back to the field, but also as he takes the first few steps into professional baseball.
I'm kind of amazed, all of the things that he's managed to do, all the accomplishments. They just keep stacking up on each other, and he just keeps getting better and better. So it's really, I'm really amazed, and I'm super proud of him.
And I'm going to keep it in there until he makes the major leagues, until he actually plays a game in the show. The memories are all here for sure, and so I'm sure there'll be a day when it's all over, but you know, my wife wants us to clean up this area, but this is as tidy as it gets, and that's the state that it's in right now.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.